They said she never closed her eyes. Even on the night of her wedding, when the candles burned down to their last flame, her husband swore he saw her eyes still open, wide, glistening, reflecting the moonlight like 2 drops of oil. At first, people laughed at the rumor. They said it was impossible. But later, no one laughed anymore. Before we begin, my friend, if you're new here, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, because this story you're about to hear will stay with you long after it ends. Rose was beautiful. Dangerously beautiful. The kind of beauty that made people stare a second too long and whisper behind their hands. Her skin was flawless, her smile warm, and her eyes, those eyes, golden brown, bright, and strange, as if something deep inside them shimmered. She came to the small town of Egba a few months before her wedding. No one knew much about her past. She told people she had grown up in the city, but her accent didn't sound quite like Lagos or Ibadan. She spoke softly, walked gracefully, and seemed to glide more than step. Tund, a respected young man in town who managed a small agricultural business, met her at a cousin's engagement ceremony. From that day, he was lost in her charm. Within 3 months, they were married. It was the wedding everyone talked about: bright fabrics, dancing, laughter, joy. But as the night faded and the last guests left, something strange began. That night, after their celebration, Tund lay beside his new bride, exhausted but happy. Rose lay still, her head turned slightly toward him, her golden brown eyes fixed on the ceiling. He smiled sleepily. "My wife, you're not tired?" She blinked slowly, lips curving in a faint smile. "Not at all." He chuckled. "You didn't even close your eyes once since we came in." Her voice was soft, too soft. "I don't sleep much." He laughed again, thinking it was a joke. But later, deep into the night, he woke up to find her still awake, sitting on the edge of the bed, eyes wide open, her back straight. "Rose," he whispered groggy. She turned her head slowly toward him, and for a moment, he thought he heard a faint sound, a hiss, light as air. He blinked, shook his head, and she smiled. "Go back to sleep, my love."
He did.
But it wasn't a peaceful sleep. Days turned into weeks. Rose was a perfect wife in every visible way. She cooked well, cared for Tund, and never raised her voice. But certain things about her made people uneasy. She avoided church. She never ate meat. And she never, ever slept. At first, Tund told no one. He loved her too much. But fear began to plant seeds in his mind. Every night, he'd wake up around 2 or 3 a.m. and see her standing by the window, her white nightgown glowing faintly in the moonlight, her head tilted upward as if she was listening to something only she could hear. Sometimes, he swore he heard a strange rattling sound beneath the bed, like scales brushing against the floor. One night, he gathered courage. "Rose, don't you ever get sleepy?" She smiled without looking at him. "Sleep is for those who dream. I've already seen all my dreams." Rumors began to spread around town. Neighbors whispered about hissing noises at night. Children claimed they saw a long shadow slithering under her door. One old woman who sold herbs by the roadside said quietly, "That girl, her eyes are too bright for this world." Tund's mother, Mama Kemi, came to visit one Sunday. From the moment she stepped in, she felt uneasy. "My son," she said that evening, "you sure say this woman day from God?"
"Nana, abeg tunde replid, forcingas mile."
"She's just quiet." But Mama Kemi shook her head. "Quiet no be the same as empty. Her presence cold, Tund. And her eyes dim no blink." The next night, Tund decided to stay awake, pretending to sleep beside her. At around 1:45 a.m., Rose slowly rose from bed. Her movements were graceful, but unnaturally silent. She walked to the mirror, still wearing her white nightgown. Then she began to hum low, rhythmic, almost melodic. But there was something wrong with the tune. It wasn't human. Tund watched through half-closed eyes. His chest thumped as she bent toward the mirror, her reflection flickering faintly in the dim light. Then her mouth opened wider than he thought possible, and from her throat came a slow, wet hiss. Tun's heart nearly stopped. He wanted to scream, to run, but his body refused. Then, as if sensing his fear, Rose turned toward him, still smiling. Her tongue flicked out, unnaturally long, before she withdrew it and whispered, "Why are you pretending to sleep?" He froze. She crawled back into bed slowly, her body cold against his. "You promised to love me," she murmured, in all forms. The next morning, Tun didn't speak a word. He left the house early and went straight to the church. He told the pastor everything, his trembling voice breaking as he spoke of her sleepless nights, the hissing, the reflection that sometimes moved before she did. The pastor listened quietly. Then he said, "My son, you must be careful. Some spirits come wearing beauty, but their souls are scaled and cold. Bring her here tomorrow." That night, Tund came home shaking. Rose greeted him with her usual calm smile. "You look tired," she said. He forced a smile.
Yes.
Work. But inside, he was dying of fear. He slept with one eye open, or at least tried to. Sometime around 3 a.m., the rattling sound came again. He slowly leaned over to check under the bed. And there it was.
Coiled.
Shimmering.
Alive.
A long, scaly tail slowly retreated into the darkness beneath the sheets. He shot up with a scream. Rose sat up instantly, eyes wide. But this time, they weren't golden brown. They were yellow, vertical pupils glowing in the dark. "Tund," she whispered, voice now layered, half human, half hiss. "You saw it." He scrambled out of bed, trembling. "What are you?" She stood, calm and strange. "You said you loved me."
Her voice deepened.
Even monsters crave love. Then her skin rippled, once, twice, and scales began to bloom across her arms. Tund bolted out of the room, shouting for help. Neighbors came rushing, Mama Kemi among them. By the time they burst into the bedroom, Rose stood in the middle of the floor, half woman, half serpent, her body coiled, eyes burning bright gold. Gasps filled the air. "Jesus!" someone screamed. Rose hissed, the sound loud and shrill. Then she turned to Tund, tears mixing with fury. "You should have let me love you." Her body convulsed, and in one flash of light, she vanished. All that was left was her wedding ring lying in a small heap of shed snakeskin. Days later, no one could explain what had happened. The pastor called it a demonic manifestation. The elders said it was a curse, the ghost of a serpent spirit who took human form to find a husband. But the house remained cold. And every night since then, neighbors swore they could still hear a faint, hissing song drifting through the air, coming from Tund's window. Weeks passed. Tund never remarried. One night, as he sat on the veranda staring into the dark, he heard a soft voice whisper his name. "Tund." He turned. There by the gate stood Rose, or something that looked like her. Her eyes gleamed like molten gold, her smile tender and sad. "Did you miss me?" she whispered. Then she faded into the shadows, leaving behind only the faint sound of hissing in the wind. If you're still listening, my friend, remember this. Not every beautiful face hides a human soul. Some hearts beat cold beneath perfect skin. So, before you fall in love, watch how they sleep, because even love can hide a hiss. And don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more stories like this. Until next time.